Welcome back to the Shallon Entourage. Wake the mighty women. We're here to do some good work. Today, guys, I want to talk about Britney Spears' recent mental health drama. If you haven't heard, she checked herself into a mental health facility kind of to deal with what's going on with her dad, who is also her conservator, which means he's basically like in charge of her entire life and finances and every single thing that she does. He's had like this ongoing health battle. He's had issues with his colon. I mean, just like a lot of stuff. And understandably, she's probably kind of in a spiral about what this could mean for him in the future. I mean, the prospect of losing any parent is like unreal, and certainly a parent who is so heavily involved in her life. So snaps to Brit, applause to Brit for being proactive about this, because we all remember, it seems like just yesterday, there was an umbrella and a shaved head and a Jeep, and Britney was just losing it. And she's certainly had her mental health issues. She's bipolar and she's medicated for it. But you know, it's still a struggle. Like, I mean, you know, it's just crazy the journey she's been on. So this got me to thinking, like, what can we do when we see one of our friends in a position where they're clearly struggling? And maybe it's with mental health, maybe not. Maybe they're struggling because they're a cutter. Maybe they're an alcoholic. Maybe they're just sleeping around. Maybe they're spending more than they can. They're running up credit card bills. How do we help a friend who is in trouble? But first, just want to let you guys know that if you want to chit chat with me privately and ask a question directly to me, find me on the Instant Go app. My username is ShallonXO, and click chat to get connected right away. And follow me on Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter at ShallonXO, and click like and subscribe for new videos every Friday, and usually a whole bunch in between. All right, so how to help a friend who's in trouble. First of all, accept that you might not know the whole story. A lot of times people only give us little glimpses into what's actually going on with them. And, you know, I remember growing up, like my best friend, her dad was an alcoholic. Like I had no idea. I didn't know this until she told me like a few years ago that he he drank himself to death. And I was like, what? Like it blew my mind. But like, you never know what's going on behind the scenes. And I would like spend the night at her house. I was also like 12, you know, so I didn't know what to look for. I didn't know the signs of alcoholism. And that probably isn't so different as an adult. I didn't deal with an alcoholic, thank God. Like I didn't grow up with one. So like those red flags and markers were not, and still are not, necessarily known to me. So acknowledge that you might not know everything that's happening, and you might not be getting the whole story. And a lot of times, you know, we romanticize what's going on. Oh, I'm sure it's fine, blah, 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 because it's a lot to deal with. Be like, oh, my friend is in serious trouble here. It's sad, and we don't want to let in sad things. And we also don't want to let it in because we don't have a solution for it. And that's point number 2. You don't have to have a solution for their problems. You just have to have a steady shoulder for them. But here's something, because this is not the first video on mental health that I've done. I did a video on Ariana Grande and Pete Davidson's like incredibly toxic relationship. And I mean, people just had a lot to say in the comment section because I did not have a very rosy view of their relationship due to Pete's borderline personality disorder. BPD is not great. And it's different than a mental health issue necessarily, because it's not like being bipolar, because you can medicate bipolar. That's like it's like a disease. Borderline personality disorder is like sociopathy, being a psychopath. Like it isn't like that, but it falls under the same category in that it's a personality disorder. You can't medicate it. There's not like literally a cool pill. You know, there's not a chill pill. It doesn't work like that. So it's hard, but it's not impossible. You have to be working on it though. And that is the number one thing I want you guys to get from this video. You can help someone if they want to help themselves. And that was my big indictment of Pete Davidson. He didn't want to. He went to rehab because people thought he was a drug addict, but oh no, it turns out he's BPD. And then he went back to drinking and drugs, party's back on. Like he thinks it's funny. And he thinks this is all just like, no big deal. That face and those teeth. Everywhere you turn, there's just more face. So that's my big issue with Pete, is like, you can have something wrong with you. You didn't create it. It's not your fault, but it is your fault if you choose to do nothing about it and then just spew out chaos onto everyone else who loves you. Obviously, if there's an actual like mental disorder, schizophrenia, I mean, this is the problem we are faced with, not just in America, but all the world over. Like, how do you help people who don't want to help themselves? You can't force an autonomous adult to take medication. Sometimes I wish you could, you know, but you can't. And so there's a reason I think people take a step back. It's because at some point you just get fucking exhausted. It's like, I can't keep helping you. I moved a homeless lady into my house for like a few months. It's a long story. Actually, it's not. That's pretty much the story. And I like hid it from my friends because I know they were going to be like, ooh, baby, what are you doing? And I helped her for as long as I could. And like, even after she left, like I was helping her. And then I had to cut myself off from that because she wasn't helping herself. She didn't want to sign up for Social Security. She didn't want to sign up for food stamp. No, I don't want to do this. I don't trust the government. And I'm like, okay, I can't do anything more here. And it was making me crazy. My mom has a phrase I love: don't make your problem my problem. And trust me, you don't want to make anything my mom's problem. You don't want to deal with my mama when no, you don't want to do that. Don't get on her bad side. But it's true. And so it can be frustrating to deal with someone in your life who you see that they have a problem. Whether it's a shitty boyfriend in a codependent relationship. I get a lot of questions like that from you guys. Like, how do I get my friend to dump her boyfriend? It's like, I don't know. You can plant a kilo of Coke on one of them and get them shipped upstate. Aside from that, you can't. They have to want to do it for themselves. So how do you deal with that? First of all, sit down with them like man to man and be like, point out what you've observed, not in an accusatory way, but in an observational way. And recognize that whatever they're doing, so let's set aside the fact that it may be a mental health issue, but maybe not. You can say that they're doing something just simply self-destructive, okay? Or dating someone self-destructive or whatever that might be. You can sit them down and be like, I love you, but I've noticed that you seem to be using X, sex, drugs, rock and roll, whatever, to kind of anesthetize yourself from something larger that might be going on. And I want to sit with you, or at least plant that seed in your mind about getting to the root of what is going on, because I don't want to see you self-destruct and it kind of looks like that's what's happening. And you're worth so much more than that. Because the thing with mental illness is a lot of times people do self-medicate. They medicate with drugs and alcohol. So it can be harder to diagnose, and people just look at the alcohol or the drug use. Like with Pete Davidson, that's exactly what happened to him. You know, he was like, people thought he was just a drug addict. I mean, he is. But it was because he was using those things as the crutch and the anesthesia to the deeper thing that was going on, which is the bipolar. So, I'm sorry, not bipolar, BPD. Britney Spears, same thing. When she was in her meltdown, she was undiagnosed bipolar. And bipolar used to be called manic depression. That was kind of like its first name, which I sort of like better because I think it's more descriptive. Like, because you can, when you look at Britney with the term manic depressive, it's like, oh yeah, she was totally like that. She was like, mania, I'm on a private jet with Kevin Federline. And then it was like, I'm attacking a Jeep with an umbrella, you know, and it was highs and lows. Mania can last for like years. I mean, you can be in a manic state for a long time. Long time. But one of the things she was doing is she was drinking and taking a lot of drugs. So it was really hard for anyone to analyze what was happening underneath there, because we as society understand alcoholics and drug addicts way more than we understand people with mental health issues. And that's, God knows that's something we have to work on. So recognize that what you're seeing on the outside that your friend is doing might not be the whole story. Again, we don't know the whole story. And you don't have to know the whole story. You don't have to be Captain Save-A-Ho or save a non-ho, save a good. You don't have to be Captain Save anybody. That is out of your realm of training. And it should be. You're there as a friend, not as a doctor, not as a therapist. And I say this all the time to girls who are dealing with a boyfriend. It's like, he's depressed, he has anxiety. 99% of the time, he's actually just not into you. But, you know, and he's just like kind of making up whatever he has to kind of get away with it. But it's like, you don't want to fall into the role of someone's therapist. Certainly not a boy's. It's the antithesis of lust. And even if you fix him, even if he's going to be like, thank you, Dr. Shallon. Well, I'm going to go and date somebody else. Like they will have separated that sexual chemistry component completely. And you'll be like, and friendships can't operate under that construct either. Friendships have to be balanced. It can't just be one person trying to save the other, because it gets really, really tiring, and you're going to become resentful. Because if they do one thing that strays from that path of getting better, you're going to be like, what the fuck? Why did I stay on the phone with you for 4 hours last night? You don't want that. You don't need that stress in your life. Don't make their problem your problem. So sit them down and acknowledge that. I love you. I want to help you. And maybe they do know what's wrong. Maybe they're like, I think I have BPD. I've got this. I've got that. I'm an alcoholic. You're like, I don't have the answers for you. And I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke at you and preach to you like I do, but I will help you find people who do have answers, because there's a lot of people out there who have answers. They're called doctors. And mental health therapy access it's way more available than we think. If you go to college, you've got counselors you can see for free on campus. If you're still on your parents' insurance, you probably have like a $10 or $20 copay to see a psychiatrist or a psychologist. So tell your friend, like, look, I can't fix this, but I can walk with you while you fix it. You come over tomorrow night, we're going to order a bunch of sushi, and we're going to call your insurance and get their list of mental health providers in your area. I'll do it. Like, I'll type in all the numbers, stuff like that. These like sort of logistical bureaucratic things can really like impede people from getting help. It just seems overwhelming. So if you have someone, if you can offer to take that off their plate, great. Psychology Today, one of my favorite magazines, they actually on their website have an enormous resource of mental health people. And it doesn't even have to be a doctor necessarily. It can be a licensed marriage and family counselor. There's a lot of different avenues to explore. So explore it. Even just going and talking to someone at your church can be incredibly helpful. So now that you kind of like pinpointed, ask them point blank, like, do you want the village involved in this? Like, is this something you want to do on your own that you feel very like maybe not comfortable sharing? Or like, I'm of the mindset that it does take a village. And the more people who have eyes on a problem, the more accountable you're going to be in solving it. And that's always better. Like we acknowledge that with like working out and losing weight. It's like, it's great if you have a buddy. It's great if you have that eating text message thread. So like, get their parents involved, get their brother and sister involved. Be like, hey, this is what she's dealing with. I want you guys to know. Maybe they're going to be helpful, maybe not. I talked to a girl yesterday and she was like, I live with my mom. We're super close, but she's got depression and she's really hot and cold with me. And when she's cold, she's really mean. And I don't know what to do about it, because when I call her out, she's like, I'm bipolar. That's what this is. And I was like, well, wait, is she depressed or is she bipolar? Because those are two completely different things. And she's like, I don't know. She's never gone to the doctor. I'm like, okay. Of course she hasn't, because why would she? Right now, she gets to act however she wants with no accountability. It's not like a surprise that people, I guess they sort of, tap into the elasticity of their familial relationships. When you're having a bad day, I bet you don't go scream at your boss, do you? Or your teacher? No. You scream at your mom. You scream at your sister. You scream at your boyfriend. You scream at the people who are probably going to be a little bit more elastic about it. Your mom's not going to be like, and you're out of the will, goodbye. Your boss will fire you. So that's something to consider. Which brings me to my next and like final point of information. They got to want to get better. They got to want to. And this young lady I talked to dealing with her mom, like, it didn't seem to me like her mom wanted to get better. Her mom wanted to use whatever label she thought was, useful in the time when she was acting out, and then just kind of be able to do whatever she wants. It's that Pete Davidson, like, chaos spew. Another person who was classic at this was Amy Winehouse. She didn't want to get better. You know how I know that? She wrote a song about it. No. She thought it was cute. No. I'm sorry that she died. She was such a talent. But I was always so frustrated with her, because I'm like, she has every resource at her fingertips. Every resource. Remember when her record label sent her to like Antigua for 3 months to dry out and record an album, and people caught her on film crawling around a restaurant, stealing drinks off people's table? I remember that. I remember it super well. There's people who got injured in a coal mining accident in Kentucky, and now they're hooked on Oxy because the doctor told them it wasn't addictive. They would give anything to be able to go to rehab. Anything to get their kids back, to get their husband back, to get their life back on track. So people who don't want to get better, I don't have a lot of empathy there. It makes me mad. It makes me mad because there are resources that are being squandered. And it also means that they are playing emotional terrorist with everyone else in their life, because everyone else is orienting around them. I mean, not always for all that long. I think it's healthy to be able to be like, you know what? I can't do anything else here. I have to step back. So evaluate what you're dealing with. Once you bring something to someone's attention, because no one can change what they don't acknowledge, like I always say, I mean, ask yourself and ask them, like, are you serious about getting better? Because if you are, like, I will be here for you, you know? If you have a mental health issue, like, that's no more anyone's fault than having cancer. I'm not gonna be like, well, goodbye, you and your one bad breast. Like, are you kidding? But I don't know a lot of people who get cancer and don't do anything about it, you know? And a huge part of that is the stigma of mental health. But we can change that one relationship and one interaction at a time. And it has to be a grassroots kind of thing. So be like, look, I'm here for you until you decide that you don't want to do this anymore. And then I'm going to have to, like, I have to remove myself from that. I cannot watch you self-destruct like this. It's painful for me. And it creates a lot of chaos in my life and other people's lives. So let's all get together. Like, let's do this. And then it's important to put up boundaries. You know, just because someone's going through something doesn't mean it has to bleed over into your life in a way that now creates your own problems. I have a friend who I am almost positive has borderline personality disorder, almost positive. And I've had to block her number. I mean, she goes through these breakups and they have gone through the same cycle for the last 10 years. And I'm like, I cannot watch this anymore. You don't listen to my advice. So I don't appreciate you asking me for my advice, which a lot of people pay me for. You're not paying me. So fine. It's like, if you don't want to listen, at least pay me, you know? Like, if it's going to go in one ear and out the other, a check might as well do that too. And I'm like, I feel like the reason you keep coming to me is because I keep answering, and everyone else in your life is like, I'm fucking done, you know? And it's sad, but she is such an example of someone who just does not want to get better. I could talk till I'm blue in the face, and she's like, okay, but why does he love me? I'm like, I don't even like you right now, let alone love you. And it's like, it makes me want to, I mean, I have to stop myself from being like mean just because I'm frustrated. I'm just really frustrated. So if you feel that kind of start to bubble up, I mean, I don't blame you, but take a step back, you know? Don't be part of the problem, be part of the solution, or don't be part of it at all. You're allowed to set those boundaries, you know? And if something is out of your depth or it's becoming inappropriate, like, you don't have to answer the phone at 4 a.m. to deal with someone. You don't have to bail them out of jail, but you can be there for them and reinforcing positive steps. Yes, I will drive you to the doctor. Absolutely, we can go get ice cream after. I will sit on the phone with your insurance company on hold. You don't have to do that. So be there for positive things and remove yourself from the negative things. And I think that will help to shape people into the right direction. But like I said, a lot of this is simply going to be like over your head and out of your depth. And that's okay. You don't have to be there. You don't have to have the answers. You just have to have the loving spirit and the support. For more, click like and subscribe. New videos every Friday. And like I said, if you have a question of your own, find me on the Instant Go app. Click chat. My username is ShallonXO. Get connected right away. And follow me on Insta, Twitter, and Snapchat at ShallonXO.